security dossier, securing the perimeter.
Resignation of the service chiefs, as well as the controversies surrounding the constitution of a regional security outfit in the southwest region of the country. This and more will be discussed on the program today. This is Security Dossier, the program that focuses on security issues in and around the country and beyond, as well as the efforts of security agencies in the fight against crime and in the defense of the territorial integrity of the nation. This is coming on your channel of choice, Television Nigerian. I am yours sincerely, Lawrence Aldu. In this edition of Security Dossier, we shall be looking at the call for the resignation of Nigeria's service chiefs, as well as the controversy surrounding the constitution of the regional security outfit. I'm talking about Amotekun in the southwest region of the country. And this was jointly launched by all the governors of the southwest region in the month of January. We want to look at how it is funded, the recruitment process, and other issues surrounding the project. This and more after this short break.
If you talk about the service chief today, I must tell you, they don't even go to bed on their own ordinarily. Because most of the times, even at 2 a.m. in the morning, they are attending meetings around the globe. And they are attending meetings around the globe, leaving their own direct and immediate families behind during these times to contain the security challenges facing them, whether they fail or they succeed in during their operations. It is not always broadcasted of their sources. But when there's failures, you always hear that 5 officers, 10 officers died during a raid, and so on and so forth. So the country, the people as a country, Nigerians should appreciate the service chiefs for their efforts, because it is not an easy one. And if they are encouraged, I'm sure they can do better. For one, security is a collective effort of which it boils down to the responsibility of every Nigerian at their local dwellings to take up the responsibility of securing the environment.
I don't think that it's a good idea for them to remove them. All I want them to do that they should just allow them to do their job. They should forget about politics so that they focus on their job to do the right thing.
Yes, they should also provide technology. That will also help. That will also go a long way, in combating crime. Like, fixing cameras in some area whereby to monitor things that are going on. So that will also go a long way.
For the federal government, aside that, for him to withdraw those army or the security chiefs, I don't see anything that will go on well. Instead, he should provide technologies for them so that they can fight because there are some stations they don't have vehicle to move, they don't have any technology, so nothing is going on well, you understand? So my opinion is that for him to withdraw the security or the chiefs in charge, so you have to provide them technology so that the fight will go on well.
See, so far you see some people that will go to Sabisa Forest before coming back. You see their family being killed. I think that anyone they want to send to go to that Sabisa Forest, and first of all, as in the family that the person left behind is supposed to be the government responsibility in terms of free school, free accommodation, free things for the person, because you know that the person father or the person mother want to go and fight the interest of the country. I think there should be a provision provided for the person's family. That's what I think, sir.
Let him just leave them and give them technology so that they'll be able to do their work very well. Removing them right now, I don't think it's the best idea. The best idea, if he give them equipment, that's their technology, at least they'll be able to work well. If husband and wife have issue, they will not go to court for them to separate. No, they'll just try and amend it so so that they can continue their marriage. For me, if you ask me, that's my own suggestion.
They should tackle the main problem. And the main problem that they should tackle, they should provide vehicle for the security, and they should give them a good arm for the security. And there should be well security on the ground of the society. It's not of removing them. Removing them is we are not saying that we don't have a form to finalize them or to make them to materialize. So they should tackle, the federal government should go to that problem very well. They should not escape it.
Thanks for staying tuned. Still on the matter at stake, I have with me in the studio a field researcher with the Global Amnesty Watch. I'm talking of none other than Mr. Terence Kwano. Mr. Terence, you're welcome to the studios and, of course, on Security Dossier.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. There's been this issue that Nigerians have been bantering with for a couple of days now, which is the issue of whether the Nigerian service chiefs should remain or not. But before then, I want you to do a postmortem, particularly where like 5 years down the line of the government of President Muhammadu Buhari. Let's look at it from the perspective. 5 years down the line, what has changed?
Yeah, thank you so much. We live in a country that has short memories and are easily overwhelmed by events that comes to meet them. We are a country that by 2015, where you and I are sitting, we knew we were not safe. And,
how do you mean?
There were bombs all over Abuja. And we got to a point in this country where before even an IG or police can get into his office, his boot was checked. But today, the entire issue of Boko Haram is now restricted to Borno State. So that's why I say Nigerians have very short memories of what has happened to them and where we are headed to. It is because we don't even know how these situations comes to meet us. The Boko Haram issue we are discussing today is an advent of the 2007 elections, and we know how it came about, where a governor was able to put some talks together that today have generated into a terrorist organization. And then you discuss the 2015 elections, where we begin to have talks that were put all together so that the elections could be rigged. Now then we had the Fulani herdsmen and farmers attacks and XYZ. Now we are just coming back from an elections and just finishing the court cases. This politician practically could not be able to manage the talks they brought together to be able to rig these elections. And they are looking for a scapegoat. And the scapegoat is the service chiefs. What I advise the service chiefs to do practically is that every intent they have on these politicians that are now ready to cut their head, they should go after them and arrest them. Maybe Nigeria will be able to know where these problems are coming from. Because it is very sad that somebody will wake up today knowing fully well that we have a military that is not well equipped. We have a military that is not well funded. We have a military that have sacrificed all plus their families to be able to protect us. And then you say the service chief should resign. Where is the motivation for the people that have been fighting for this war in the last 10 years? Has anybody been called to be honored in the last 10 years? No. So if you keep changing service chiefs and there's no motivation, there's no funding, what result are you expecting? So I think Nigerians are failing to actually realize what is their problem. We have a situation where whenever our military overwhelm these insurgents, they go and come back more equipped, more audacious to face our military. We don't even have the sophisticated equipment to even engage these people. Where you have an AK-47 against somebody who have more sophisticated rifles like the AK-49s and the rest.
And
How are you going to even engage those people? But these people have made the effort enough to be able to even contain these people to be only within a state in this nation in the last 5 years. So I think we should be discussing how we can be able to honor the service chiefs and not to call for their reservations.
But of course, there was recently a vote where the president requested that the National Assembly approves $1 billion for the purpose of fighting insurgency, particularly in the northeast and across the country. What happened?
Yeah, the money was, as I was speaking today, the money has not been released to the army.
Up to this moment?
So it has not been released, and the money was specifically for some fighter jets that can be able to be disseminated at the areas, the camps of these insurgents. But we never saw any reason to it. I think Nigerians might have learned from the experience of the US, where in their engagement with the Iranians, they were bragging with the Iranians of investing over $7 trillion of military equipment that can be able to sustain and secure their country. Then we were here embarrassing our military that $1 billion was too much for them. So if we compare the way nations are protecting their citizens and their borders with huge budgets, you discover that what we are doing to our military is an embarrassment. Today we have a 10 point something trillion dollar. That is just about 30 point something billion dollars. We don't even have 1% of that for our defense. And then we want them to end the insurgency. We have even reduced our military to be policing the country. You recall that by December, when the military wanted to withdraw the Operation White Straw, all the 6 governors of the North Central and the FCT ministers cried foul that the military should not, because the police that we have today cannot be able to police the country. With the 1943 Act of Police Service Commission, it cannot police the country. How many police personnel do we have? How many of them are protecting the VIPs and the facilities? So most of the work the military are doing today is practically the work of the police. So if you don't look for a way to commend and honor the military chief, and rather ask for their resignation, it is unfortunate. I think Nigeria has very short memories, and that's why we can be able to have that kind of situation.
No, because why I ask this question ab initio is the fact that prior to 2015, we had the situation where about 14 or 17 local governments, in some reports you have 14, in some other reports you have 17 local governments.
Yeah, it was actually 17.
Oh, 17. Oh.
That was in the control of
Boko Haram. Administratively, flags hoist.
Now there's no territory of Nigeria that is in the control of Boko Haram. We're not discussing the issue of territories at the moment. Because you and I know that before the elections in 2019, Boko Haram has been curtailed. We only had some lone wolves attacks that were coming because there's, when you have criminals around, they must look for a way to survive and then establish their presence. Sure. That was just what we had. But the election brought about this little escalation we have around the country that people do not even decipher exactly where they are coming from. But if we look at the history of the violence we have in this country, they come with elections. The military we have in this country had disseminated everything about Boko Haram. These people brought these people back from wherever they were hiding to come and achieve their election results. Now they can't be able to even manage them. They can't be able to even tell them to go back. So they are looking for a scapegoat, and that is why today we are having the issue of all these crises around. Instead of addressing the problem they have created themselves, they are calling for the head of the service chiefs, and that is why we are saying that the service chiefs should look deep into their interests and arrest whoever that is involved.
No, but some of the people who argued about the removal or the resignation of service chiefs talked about psychological issues as regarding the motivation or the morale boosting of the troops. For instance, if you have one service chief that has been there for a couple of years, okay, and then it's the same old story. Maybe somebody who comes in newly should be able to boost the morale better. Why do you think differently from those other people?
The person you want to bring to come and change the narrative is working with the service chief. It is the same motivation, it's the same equipment, it's the same personnel. So there's actually nothing different that anybody can bring in this situation at the moment. All we need is we need to motivate our troops. We need to get modern equipment for our troops. We need to honor these service chiefs we are discussing here at the moment. They have done so where every Nigerian can comment what they have done. And we are in a war situation. It's only in Nigeria that in a war situation we call for the change of service chiefs. It is only in Nigeria. We thank God so much that maybe the president and commander-in-chief has a military background and he understands better. And that is why he cannot yield to these cries that are coming from ignorant people who doesn't know what is happening within the theater. We just have just 30,000 people in the theater. And we are up against, they don't even know that at the moment that these issues has come back. These people have come with more sophisticated weapons. They have come with more numbers. The numbers they used to come for attacks earlier, they have tripled them. So the number they are coming, the weapons they are bringing to fight our personnel, if not for the determination and commitment and patriotism that our personnel have, I think they would have vacated the areas they are protecting.
You just mentioned one critical area, in this fight against insurgency, when you talked about sponsorship.
Yeah.
Who is responsible for this issue of sponsorship of terror in the Sahel and in the region?
Well, fundamentally, two groups have claimed the sponsorship of terrorism in the Sahel. That is the ISIS, which was able to be disseminated by our military personnel, and then the ISWA. And then, in time past, we have discussed the connection of the French government into the sponsorship of these military personnel, because we know as a fact that the area of this crisis is bordered by French colonies. And every French colony have a minimum of 150 French personnel protecting it. Now you have Chad, you have Niger, you have Cameroon.
Benin.
And Benin. Benin is not actually so involved, but maybe because of the Francophone connection. At every time...
And their proximity to...
Yeah, every time our personnel are able to clamp down on these people, they run to this neighboring country. We have not heard of any arrest. And any time they are coming back, they come back more sophisticated and audacious to confront our personnel with more equipment. And nothing is done about it in those countries. And these are countries that have claimed to be with us in the joint multinational national task force. Now we begin to question the involvement of the French government in this aspect. And at every time this war gets to a point that we are going to evade completely the Boko Haram, there is always an insurgency conference in France that all the West African nations are called to go and address this issue. Now that became an issue of suspicion. Now when you put these three issues together, you discover that the sponsorship that is coming for these people are more than what we are offering for our personnel. And then recently you understand the crisis between the US and the Iranian people. Now the Iranian government has sponsorship here that are sponsoring the issue of IMN and XYZ.
Yeah.
Now they want to destabilize this country because we have refused to accept the Shiite movement in this country. If we put all these things together, you discover that the huge sponsorship that is coming for these people, that they have access to the equipment.
No, but I'm trying to understand one thing here. What does France, for instance, stand to gain sponsoring terror in the Sahel region or the Lake Chad Basin, of West Africa, or Iran?
A lot is involved. You remember that in 1972, when oil was discovered in this country, the French government and the British government had a clash of who will be able to tap from that oil and exploit on behalf of Nigeria. Now, in the Sahel region at the moment, there is ethanol.
Okay.
A deep, large content of ethanol is discovered in the Lake Chad Basin.
With sugarcane.
Yes. Now the French seeing that because their Francophone countries are surrounding that terrain, they will not be able to allow the British government to come and compete with them. Now they have decided to create an insecurity in that area to push away the British government. And this is why the interest is so intense. And the Iranian government, you know that, we have refused completely to entertain the Shia movement in this country. Despite their inadversities against the government and people of Nigeria, we have stood to protect the people of Nigeria. Now they feel that the U.S. invasion of their territories will be supported by Nigeria. So obviously they have come to attack us. So all these things, when you put them together, we expect Nigeria to critically look at these issues and forget politics. Because the issue of saying service chiefs will resign is politics. Because somebody that has done well to protect you, that you've been able to go to work and close at the end of the day, you've been able to sleep in your house and close your eyes, you don't wake up and say such a person should go. You look for ways to honor such people. So it is a concern, and we feel Nigerians are ignorant, and we feel that it is our duty to be able to enlighten Nigerians to know that what is happening is not ordinary, and we need to synergize as a nation to be able to confront this issue.
Now, talking about the issue of troops' motivation, I know that you have had a lot of stints in the Northeast Theatre of Operations, where researches have gone on, you've interacted with troops on the way forward. At the same time, a lot of Nigerians are still worried that these troops are not motivated.
Well, that is part of the ignorance I'm saying. I think the Nigerian armed forces have never been motivated in a manner that they've had it in this Operation Lafia Dole Theatre Command. Because you have situations where our festivities, the Easter periods, the Salah periods, the Christmas period, they've been able to celebrate it with the service chiefs. I think there's no motivation better than that.
Of course, I recall that the Chief of Army Staff General Buratai and some of the top principal officers in the Army headquarters were in Goza, particularly on the 30th of December to celebrate.
Yeah, not just 30th of December. I could remember I've seen instances from 2016 to date. He has always been there with them, and the head of operations in the military headquarters has always been there. And I think you will not meet a military personnel in the theatre command that is complaining that there is no welfare for them and their families. Because we know that there are packages for members of the theatre command to their families outside their normal allowances and pay. This is the motivation for the families to be able to relax and allow these people in the theatre command to be able to protect the borders and be able to regain our territories for us. I think what people say mostly is politics and ignorance. Because if you go to the theatre command and you look at the welfare of personnel in the theatre command, I think you will appreciate our personnel. I think and Nigeria has been able to record this kind of invasion and insurgents that have taken place in Nigeria. We have been able to record a few losses of lives to our personnel and even the community since we took over the command. And I think what we need to do to our military at the moment is to be able to commend and honor them. They really deserve that from us as Nigerians. Rather than vilify them and then discourage them from what they are doing. Nobody else can come and do this. All the military personnel are trained together, the service teams are working together in harmony with the top echelon of defense in this country. So there's nobody you come in with them and with the services we're offering and what we can offer them as a nation. We cannot be able to do better than what we are doing today. So it's not about saying the service chiefs. It's about motivate and sponsor our military. You cannot promise the military comes to you and tell you that what we need at the moment is to get some helicopter fighter jets to be able to detonate at the camps of these insurgents. And then in the last 2 years, we've been promising them $1 billion, and they cannot even see it. And then you have a very meager budget for them. And then they'll be able to do this lot for us. And all we wake up and say is because we want them to resign. We want them to resign for what? Why are we not looking at the crux of the crisis that we're having in this country? The politicians are the ones that are bringing this insecurity in this country because they want to win elections. They go to every length to protect these people and bring them back into the society. And then arm them against citizens because they want to win elections.
Okay. That said, you also agree that in the past couple of months, we've had series of security challenges in terms of kidnapping, armed robbery, and some form of violent crimes. To a point where a lot of people are now agitating or advocating for regional security. The southwest region of the country, came up with their own strategy, which is the Operation Amoteku. What's your take?
Well, issues of regional security are not strange to our constitution. They are there in the constitution. It's because of weak leadership that we've not had the security outfits. If we look at our constitution very well, he has stated clearly that states should have police that can be able to police their territories. A state is able to enact laws, so a state is able to enforce the laws.
Sure.
So the issue of regional securities are not strange to this country. It's following the law. That is the issue. We have had regional securities in this country before. This is not the first time. We're operating this, like I told you earlier, the police act we have that we're operating today is the act of 1943. We just have some nominal adjustments that are editorial. So the federal police we're operating today is a pre-colonial police. And the Police Service Commission that we know that we have in this country is comprising of 39 members. That is 36 state governors, and the president are 2 members that he nominates. And they collectively take a decision to police this country. So the issue of regional policing is not strange. We don't need to politicize it. We need to follow the law. You follow the law, you have a regional police that can be able to protect. That will even ease pressure on the military. Because as we speak today, the military is policing the country instead of the police force. In December, when the military wanted to withdraw the operation White Stroke in the North Central, there was an outcry from the governors and the ministers of the FCT that they should not leave because they will not be saved. Today we have military that are policing this country instead of the police force. So if there is a way we can be able to have regional securities that fall within the confines of the law, I think it will ease pressure on the military to be able to protect our territorial borders, and we can be able to protect our citizens within the country.
Does that negate the idea of having state police in any instance?
State police is also at the prerequisite side of the state.
Okay.
If the state have the capacity to fund the state police, go ahead and fund the state police.
What capacity?
Capacity is to fund the state police, to be able to operate within the confines of the law. Now, actually, we need to adjust the Police Act so that the federal police will be able to synergize with any state police that will exist.
That's working
and operate within the law and not at the dictates of politicians.
Okay.
The challenge we have here is that because of politics in this country, we cannot be able to sufficiently trust the capacity of the state to operate independent bodies. Like the trial we have with the state independent electoral commissions. We know that the state electoral commission elections are a mockery to our nation. Now that brings fear to the existence of state police. But if we don't execute the provisions of our constitutions, we cannot be able to stand as a nation. Now it is the responsibility of federal institutions that have consolidated themselves for over these years to be able to guide these institutions to stand. So I think even if there is any state that has capacity to fund and sustain a state police, I don't think the federal police will abandon the state completely with it. There should be guidance to be able to bring professionalism.
So, but what does it take to actually run a state police in a federation like Nigeria?
Already it is expected that we should have state police because our constitution provides for it that every state and
the constitution provides?
Of course, the constitution says that there should be state policing. State policing
and state
policing does not.
Is a function of semantics here, if you ask me.
No, you know that it is only the state has the monopoly of legitimate violence.
So, in this context, how do you define a state?
The state has monopoly of legitimate violence.
No, what is a state?
Now, a state that has an assembly that can enact laws can have a police to enforce the laws. There is no differentiation of policing in the constitution that I say federal, state, or local government.
So does it?
The local government themselves needs policing.
Okay.
Because they enact laws.
Does this in any way, challenge the operation of Amotekun security outfit?
Well, Amotekun security outfit had a political coloration.
How?
And that is why it has been criticized.
Political
Because it is
coronation, I'm trying
expected
to understand because
political coronation because
No,
there's no law backing Amotekun.
no. If when you're talking about law and talking about politics, there are two different things here.
That's what I'm saying. Now, when you say politics, what law is backing Amotekun?
I need to hear from you.
There's no law. There is only a neighborhood watch law in Lagos. Maybe there's a vigilante law in Ondo State. But none of the 6 states has a law that backs Amotekun. We operate within the ambit of the law.
Okay.
So you don't just wake up and say Amotekun. When there is no law, I don't know the modus operandi of the Amotekun because it's not in the cost.
So, but you have said this a couple of times, I've watched some of your commentaries where you support the issue of a regional.
No, I say if there's a regional policy,
okay,
it should be within the law.
Okay.
They have state assemblies. Those state assemblies should enact a law that supports a regional policy.
Okay.
Now, in enacting this law, you have town hall meetings.
Okay.
There will be inputs. There will be consultations from the federal police that will be able to guide this police to fall within the law. But Amotekun, where we have issues with it, it has no law backing it.
Okay.
It has only a political coloration that the Southwest government choose to have.
Where I have a problem with your explanation of saying it has a political coloration.
Yeah, it has.
That most of the Southwest states are part of the ruling APC government. Only a handful.
I know what we are discussing. What we are discussing here is not APC or PDP.
Oh no,
it's
when
government.
You mentioned political.
Yeah, it's political because what I mean political is that I can come together with you and few friends and take a decision.
Okay, so
that we are this group.
Okay, in this
we are this group. The group is not even registered by the corporate affairs.
In this context, you're not actually referring to party politics.
No, I'm not referring to party politics.
Okay,
it's just that we come together today. We say we are like minds, and we meet and we take decisions, but it's not registered under the law.
Beautiful. So going forward, what are your expectations?
My expectation is that we should be able to come together as Nigerians and look at the security architecture of this country. We can be able to separate policing from defense. Now, when you take personnel who are supposed to protect your territorial borders and bring them to police your country, it means something is wrong. We should have capacity as a nation to be able to police this country and defend this country. It is the aspect of policing this country by the military personnel that will have these outcries of we want somebody sacked and XYZ. People who are defending your territorial borders and you exist as a nation, I think we go after them with caution and respect. But because they are now with us, policing means daily interaction. Sure. And that is why you have cops, which are constables on patrol, even on our streets. And if we need to restructure the policing of this country. Most of these crises we have Fulani herdsmen and farmers class, they are supposed to be managed by policing. Because if we have a proper policing in our communities, you cannot have a herder going into a farm because these things will be nipped in the bud. So we need to restructure our policing where communities will be properly policed, and you won't have a division of a police in the local government that is manned by just 6 people in the local government that has up to 900, 1 million people. So I think what we need to do in the structure of our security is policing the country. We have an effective defense that we only need to equip and motivate them. I think our territorial borders will be well protected.
So going forward, what are your last messages for Nigeria?
Well, I need Nigerians to be able to sit up and appraise what is happening around them. They should walk out of the ignorance and let's encourage, commend, and honor the people that are sacrificing their lives for us to be able to exist as a nation. Vilify them at this moment will put us in more danger because these people, some of them in the theater, they have sacrificed their lives. Their families are now orphaned. Now you cannot wake up and vilify such people that are making those huge sacrifices for us to exist as a nation. Let's come together and be able to, especially the National Assembly, who have disappointed us hugely of recent, because the build up to the deliberations on Wednesday and Thursday, we had expected that. They have seen the discrepancies in the security architecture of this country, and they were coming together to reconvene and be able to address it so that we will have an effective policing by the law of this country. Rather, they came back doing politics. I feel that we need to put those things aside and be able to encourage the military that we have today so that we can have an effective military that is well encouraged and honored.
So in other words, no to the sack of service chief.
No, the service chief cannot go anywhere at the moment. We are in the heat of the crisis, and every Nigerian has told us they have done well. They have not told us why they have to go. So you cannot tell me I have done well, and then you have no reason for me to go just because you have some skirmishes of crisis X, Y, Z because of maybe the political activities, the recent political activities that we just have, which is a history we've been having since 2007. That after elections, we have security challenges because of what the people that our security personnel push away from the societies are brought back to deliver political results to our politicians.
Well, it must have been a very heated moment talking with Mr. Terence Kwanum, who is a researcher with the Global Amnesty Watch, a field researcher, I beg your pardon. Now, this is how much we can take on the program today on Security Dossier, until we come your way again with another exciting edition of the program. My name is Lawrence Audu.
Security Dossier, securing the perimeter.